It's getting hard to keep up with all these Quran-inspired atrocities that have nothing to do with Islam. We know they have nothing to do with Islam because our politicians keep telling us that, and they are all Islamic scholars. They are, aren't they?
Hi. This is a sort of an unscripted rant. I have no definite idea what I'm going to say. But essentially, I told you so. Last year when I spoke about the Paris attacks, the one that failed, especially the one that failed, where two American soldiers essentially stopped a bloodbath in the Paris-Amsterdam train, when I said then that expect a lot more of these to happen, and especially not less, roughly 50% of the people who saw that were like, oh, come on, Lucian, you're exaggerating. It's not going to be that bad, blah, 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 blah. Of course I was correct. I don't like it when I'm right, but whether I like it or not, it is getting worse. I suppose that by the time I'll upload this video, things will have changed for the worse, but at the time of this recording, 13 people are reported dead in two explosions at the Zaventem airport in Brussels, Belgium, and another 15 people are reported dead in 4 different metro or subway explosions in the Brussels subway network, and also at least 35 people severely injured or wounded have also been reported by the Belgian police. I would be surprised that if by the time I upload this video on YouTube, the numbers would have gone even further up. I hope they don't, but nonetheless, this has happened. And, it's hard to say that, the Guardian, for instance, had a title of, the European Commission has placed its employees under lockdown following the apparent attacks. Because, it's only apparent that there have been 6 different explosions in 5 different locations, with shouts in Arabic just seconds before them. And it's just a coincidence that they're occurring right after a hardline raid in the jihadi center of Molenbeek, which is a neighborhood of Brussels. It's also just a coincidence that the metro stations first targeted were exactly in the corridor where we know that there are scores of jihadis living there. Of course, it's all just a coincidence. It can't possibly have anything to do with Islam and Islamic terrorists. Of course, it has nothing to do with it. What? 1 hour before I started recording this, the Belgian Prime Minister was like, oh my god, what we feared has happened. Oh, you feared? Really? Because several months ago, when a significant chunk of individuals in the alternative media, I won't put me into the calculation, I'm just a small fish with a few several hundred subscribers and few people that will watch me. I won't put me. I will put bigger fish in the alternative media. When every one of us told you, look, this is going to get far worse. It's time for border control. It's time to control the mass influx of Islamic immigration, and particularly Islamist immigration. It's time for this or that. The Belgian authorities were amongst those who said, oh, we must not allow the extremists to confiscate the agenda. What extremists? What agenda? Is it really so extreme to say that maybe, just maybe, there is an Islamist problem? Is it really so extreme to say that no, maybe it's not the unalienable right of the entire freaking planet to come and live in Europe and bring their customs and laws and practices, here? Because I'm pretty sure that if 1 million Europeans would decide to move to, let's say, Nigeria and take their customs and laws with them, I'm pretty sure there would be no European rights activists, and there would be no commission on racism in Nigeria to make sure that there are no microaggressions to the beliefs of the newly come Europeans. I'm really sure that's not how things work. And definitely I'm quite convinced that if 1 million Christians were to move into Saudi Arabia, or into so-called Palestine, or in any other place where Islam is the norm, I'm pretty sure there would be no commission on human rights there to make sure that the extremists don't take over the agenda and allow the Europeans to build things there and whatnot. No, it's not how things work. Yet for some reason, when everyone else wants to come here and they want to build mosques, then they want to build cultural centers where they then teach hardline Islamism, for some reason, saying that maybe there's something wrong with that setup, that's a crime. Because make no mistake, what is happening now in Belgium and what has been going on in France and what will continue to happen in Sweden, in Britain, and in every other country that allowed too much hardline Islamist immigration. What's happening there, it's not just the events of the last year. The seeds for that particular savagery have been planted decades ago. Because when I made here, for instance, this video about against the mega mosque in Bucharest, which by the way was somehow successful. I mean, the mosque isn't there and nobody's working to building it. When I made the argument then that it's not particularly proper to do so, what I got in response was like, come on, we're not going to get Islamized with a mosque and 1,000 Muslims. Well, yeah, you're not going to get Islamized then. But 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, because mind you, there were people who said in 1990 or in 1980 in Belgium, look, maybe we shouldn't get all of these people here. Maybe we should control some of it. Maybe we should... Everyone was like, come on, Belgium is not going to become an Islamic state with just 1,000 Muslims or even 50,000 Muslims. Well, let's see. Where is the ghetto that gives the whole of Europe really the highest number of jihadis? Oh, that's right, it's in Brussels. So maybe, just maybe, there is some connection there. Just saying. Right before I started recording this batch of videos, I'm trying to record 4 videos with actual content. Not this one, of course. I placed a status on Facebook that was 2015 was the year when I got a smaller amount of curses and disagreements, and a higher amount of people who cursed me in the past and told me that I'm insane, that I'm exaggerating, now coming forward and said, oh my God, you were correct when you said 5 years ago that this and that will happen, or when you said 10 years ago that this and that will happen. And 2016, it seems that it's going to be a year with a continuation of that trend, or probably even an acceleration of that trend. Because I talked about a higher amount of Islamist activity as early as 2012 or 2011, when most of the people were like, come on, this can't happen, or the London 7/7 strikes and the Madrid attacks were just an exception, and it's not going to happen here. Well, and I was like, no, it will happen, and it will happen with a much higher frequency than it did in the past. And sadly, it seems that I wasn't wrong, and it made sense. I mean, whenever I say this, I get a lot of calls. Oh my God, you're an extremist, you're exaggerating or whatnot. Well, okay, if thinking that maybe it's just too much to have too many prayers to Allah and too many people who believe in a supremacist, totalitarian ideology, if that makes me an extremist, when I say maybe we have too many of those, maybe we should have less of them, if that makes me an extremist, then fine, I'm an extremist. It's really that simple, and my main beef is particularly with libertarians who come in and tell me, oh my God, but they have a right to come there. No, they don't. No, they don't. I don't have a right to go to Nigeria. I mean, if I want to legally go to Nigeria, I need a lot more papers than a Nigerian needs to come into some portions of Europe. Not here, but in most of it. the libertarian argument is, particularly the mainstream open borders libertarian argument, is particularly insane. I mean, whenever I encounter it, I usually say, look, so it's okay to have a million, 1.5 million more Muslims into Europe every year, because that's supposed to be the new normal, according, if we are to look into the mouth of skanks like Mrs. Merkel. If that's okay, would you be okay to import into your own country 1.5 million, Marxist-Leninists every year? Most of them will say, well, maybe not, because they'll vote to take us into a more Bolshevik system and whatnot. Then what makes you think that, I mean, you can understand why importing 1.5 million Marxist-Leninists every year is a bad thing, but for some reason, no one seems to be able to understand the same argument that if you import 1.5 million believers into a supremacist totalitarian ideology every year, they will eventually vote with the party that allows them to manifest their supremacist totalitarian ideology more and more. It's not rocket science. You would think it's simple. You would think it makes sense. But for some reason, it's still not. And I'll bet you $5 or $50 that even after these strikes, there will be individuals in the cathedral media coming in and say, oh my God, but you can't put that on all Muslims, and you can't. Nobody's putting it on the heads of all Muslims. But, there is this proverb, not all Muslims are terrorists, but a significant chunk of terrorists are Muslims. I don't know how to put it other way. And nobody is saying, nuke all Muslims, kill all Muslims. Nobody's saying that. I mean, even the most extremist, genuine extremists, not people like me, even the most extremists of them don't say that. All they say is, maybe we should deport more of them. Maybe we should make less concessions. Maybe that's, even the most extreme arguments sound pretty much like that. Nobody is asking for a full-scale genocide or full-scale ethnic cleansing. But for some reason, that's how it has become to be equated. In the Netherlands, just recently, Geert Wilders was arrested again for saying that maybe we should have less Moroccans in the country. And he was arrested for hate speech or calling for violence or ethnic cleansing or whatnot. But he didn't say that. He didn't say let's kill all Moroccans. He said maybe we should have some limitations on immigration from Morocco, and maybe the Moroccans that are already here, some of them have committed crimes. Maybe they should be deported back to their country of origin. That's what he said. He didn't say let's kill them all. But for some reason, and this is what particularly annoys me in a way, although in other ways I find it particularly joyful to hear it, because it drives more and more people outside of the leftist tent. But it's still annoying to me to see individuals who call themselves, critical thinkers, atheists, appliers of reason, and things of that nature. They call themselves that, but the second you say something bad about the religion of peace, all hell breaks loose, if you pardon my expression. Heaven forbid you say something bad about the religion of peace. The religion of peace gets to have all the rights to express itself however it pleases, but then the exact same individuals who defend the religion of peace's right to do whatever it pleases, the exact same individuals then go full Macintosh if there is a nativity scene, in the center of the city during Christmas, or there is Easter dedicated events, because there's Easter at the end of this week for Protestants and Catholics. I'm pretty sure that by the end of this week I'll hear or read articles from butthurt atheists that, oh my God, the country is transforming into a theocracy because some particular store decided to shut down during the Catholic Easter. It's almost a common occurrence. But meanwhile, the religion of peace kills individuals that are not related to them in any way, shape, or form. And for some reason, we're not allowed to talk about it. The press is still refusing to call it Islamic terrorism or even terrorism. I mean, The Guardian has the title, Brussels Explosions, Multiple Casualties After Airport and Metro Attacks. Well, attacks by whom? Explosions into what framework? What ideological framework? We don't get to find out these things. Airport on lockdown as train services suspended. Yes, but why? Because of the explosions? Yes, but who caused the explosions? David Cameron, for instance, 3 hours ago, expresses shock and concern. Shock over what? Concern over what? It couldn't possibly be concerned over, Islamic terrorism. Could it be? No, of course not. David Cameron tweeted, I'm shocked and concerned by the events in Brussels. We'll do everything we can to help. What? What kind of? If you look on the Twitter feed that is published on The Guardian, you'll see that the Eastern European leaders are a little bit more, in line. The Lithuanian leader, Dalia Grybauskaitė, terrible acts of terrorism in Brussels. Stand in solidarity with all those affected. The Latvian reader, terrible feeling, not if but when. Latvia stands together with Brussels and Belgium in solidarity against terrorism. Again, President of Georgia, I'm deeply shocked about the terrorist attack in the Brussels airport. On behalf of the Georgian people, I express solidarity. Horrible news from Brussels. If blasts are an act of terrorism, we strongly condemn it as no political aims can be achieved by violence. This was also from Lithuania. In this side of Europe and this side of the planet, nobody's afraid to use the proper words. Political Islam, terrorism, the proper words. But for some reason, the cathedral media of Western Europe is particularly afraid to use these proper words. And as long as we cannot even name the problem, how the hell are we supposed to address it? How the hell is it supposed to be addressed? 3 weeks ago, the government of my country was chastised again for being racist, for daring to deport several more Islamists. And, as I was reading the communique, I was like, I hope we deported them well and far away, because if they reach Western Europe, nobody's going to deport them there. I really hope they're not the same people, although, at least one of the suspects, if I am to believe the early reports, but don't pin me on that, the early report could be proven wrong, but one of them seems to have tried to enter here, he failed. He tried to enter through Hungary, he failed again, but for some reason he somehow managed to enter Austria, somehow, have no idea how. At least one of them could be a refugee, because we're not supposed to talk about economic migrants and terrorist migration. We're not supposed to talk about that. Now everyone is a refugee. That's another issue that's killing me. It's killing me intellectually, because I cannot possibly believe how many people are willing to indulge this, I don't even know how to call it, maybe mass delusion? Because it is a mass delusion, a mass dementia. Anyway, I just had to get that out from my chest. Anyway, see you soon with real content on this channel. Cheers.